I told my husband I didn't need him, in front of his entire family. He just nodded, stood up, and left without a word. I thought he'd come back like always. But when I checked my bank account the next morning, I realized he wasn't just leaving the house, he was leaving me. I'm Amy, 28, and looking back now, I honestly don't know if I should laugh or cry about how everything went down. So picture this. I'm at this local pub 3 years ago for their weekly quiz night. My friend dragged me there, saying I needed to get out more after my last relationship ended. That's where I met Peter. He wasn't what you'd call conventionally attractive. He had this crooked smile, his ears stuck out a bit too much, and let's just say he wasn't winning any fitness competitions with his dad bod. But something about him caught my attention. Maybe it was the way he made everyone at his table laugh without trying too hard, or how he didn't seem desperate to impress anyone. He was just himself, different from the guys I usually dated, who were all about showing off their gym pics on Instagram, or humble bragging about their careers. Peter was 34 and worked as a mailman for USPS, not exactly the dream job I'd imagined for my future husband, but he had this way of making it sound like the most interesting job in the world. He'd tell these hilarious stories about the people on his route, doing all these different voices. I found myself looking forward to his stories, even the ones he definitely told before we started dating. It was nice, different but nice. Our idea of a perfect night was ordering takeout and playing board games. He'd always let me win at Monopoly, which I pretended not to notice. Sometimes we'd spend entire weekends binge-watching shows, with him making these ridiculously spot-on predictions about plot twists. I'll admit I wasn't always completely honest with him. Like, when he'd ask about my past relationships, I'd make them sound worse than they were, or when he'd notice a new outfit, I'd say it was something I'd had forever. Small lies, you know, nothing serious, just little things to make life easier. The proposal wasn't some grand gesture. He asked me during one of our game nights, hiding the ring in the Monopoly box. At first, I was a little disappointed it wasn't more romantic, but then I convinced myself it was perfect because it was so us. I didn't tell him I'd been dropping hints about wanting a restaurant proposal for weeks. The wedding planning, that's when things started getting complicated. I had this vision of a perfect wedding, but Peter kept talking about budgets and being practical. He didn't understand that every bride deserves her dream day. So I got creative with the finances and opened a new credit card or two. It wasn't a big deal. I told myself we'd figure it out later. The wedding ended up being smaller than I wanted, but I told everyone we chose something intimate because we were saving for a house. That wasn't exactly true, but it sounded better than admitting Peter's mailman salary couldn't support the wedding I dreamed about since I was a kid. Looking back, I can see how some things might have been warning signs, like how I'd get defensive when Peter would ask about shopping bags in my car, or how I'd delete online purchase confirmation emails before he could see them. But at the time, it just seemed easier than dealing with his lectures about budgeting and living within our means. Don't get me wrong, we were happy mostly. Peter had this way of making me laugh even when I was mad at him. And yes, sometimes I'd catch myself wishing he'd dressed better, or maybe hit the gym, but then, he'd do something sweet, like bringing me my favorite coffee before my morning classes at the middle school, where I taught. And those thoughts would fade away. His family seemed to like me at first. His mom especially was always inviting us over for dinner, trying to teach me her recipes, which between us weren't that great. But I smiled and pretended they were amazing. She'd share these stories about Peter as a kid, and I'd see that same goofy crooked smile in all his childhood photos. I really thought we had it all figured out. Sure, maybe we weren't the perfect couple people saw on Instagram, but we were real. At least that's what I kept telling myself. If I'd known then how everything would fall apart, well, maybe I would have done things differently, or maybe not. That's the thing about looking back. You never really know, do you? Things started changing about a year into our marriage. Peter got this promotion at work. Route supervisor was on the horizon, and suddenly he was all about securing our future and building good habits. Like, okay, I get it, but does that mean we have to track every single dollar? He'd see a target charge on our statement, and start asking questions like he was some kind of financial investigator. It was exhausting. And I'll be honest, seeing my teacher friends posting about their weekend shopping sprees or fancy dinners, while I had to justify buying new supplies for my classroom, stung. Peter didn't understand that as a teacher appearances matter. You can't wear the same outfit twice in the same week. The kids notice, and they can be brutal. So yeah, I kept a few things off the shared credit card, and started putting some purchases on my personal card. It wasn't lying exactly, more like maintaining my independence. His family didn't help either, especially his sister Sarah. She's an accountant, so she thinks she knows everything about money. She'd make these little comments at family dinners like, "Oh, it must be nice to spend so freely," or, "Have you guys started that emergency fund yet?" Like mind your own business. I started making excuses to skip family dinners, telling Peter I had papers to grade or after-school meetings. He knew I was lying sometimes, I could tell, but he wouldn't call me out on it directly. He'd just get this look on his face, this disappointed half-smile, that honestly made me feel worse than if he'd just yelled at me. The thing about Peter is he never really got angry, he just got quiet, which somehow made it worse. When he found the first hidden credit card statement, he didn't flip out like most guys would. He just sat there at our kitchen table looking at it with those sad puppy dog eyes, and asked, "Why didn't you just talk to me?" As if it was that simple, as if he wouldn't have given me a whole lecture about budgeting and responsibility. I started spending more time with my work friend Jessica. She got it. She understood that sometimes you need to treat yourself, that life's too short to penny pinch everything. When I told her about Peter's reaction to my shopping, she said it sounded like financial abuse. That really got me thinking. Was Peter controlling me through money? Sure, he said he was trying to protect our future. But wasn't he really just trying to keep me dependent on him? The more I thought about it, the more I started noticing other things too, like how he never wanted to try new restaurants I suggested, always saying we should cook at home instead, or how he'd wear the same 3 polo shirts too.
Now comment update to tag you on part 2.
Update 1. I told my husband I didn't need him, in front of his entire family. He just nodded, stood up, and left without a word. I thought he'd come back like always, but when I checked my bank account the next morning, I realized he wasn't just leaving the house, he was leaving me. Family functions. Even though I'd bought him nicer clothes, it was embarrassing. Honestly, my co-workers' husbands always look so put together, and there was Peter with his crooked smile and dad bod, talking about his mail route like it was some kind of grand adventure. I loved him, I did. I still posted about our relationship online, carefully angling photos to catch his good side, writing about how blessed I was to have such a caring husband. But something was shifting. Every time he questioned a purchase, or suggested we talk about our budget, I felt more and more suffocated. It's like the very things I'd found endearing about him, his practicality, his simple approach to life, were starting to feel like chains holding me back. Looking back now, I can see how things were building up. Every skipped family dinner, every hidden purchase, every little lie about where I was or what I was doing, they were all bricks in a wall I was building between us. But at the time, I honestly thought I was just protecting myself, protecting my right to live my life the way I wanted. I had no idea how quickly everything was about to fall apart. It all came crashing down one Tuesday evening. I'd just gotten back from a teacher planning session. Okay. It was actually a shopping trip with Jessica, when Peter was sitting at our kitchen table with this stack of papers in front of him. Credit card statements, all 3 of them, nearly $115,000 worth of debt, he knew nothing about. I tried to play it cool at first. Oh, those old things, I was going to tell you about them. But Peter just sat there flipping through page after page of purchases, Target runs, Amazon orders, that cute boutique downtown, it all laid out in black and white. He looked defeated, not even angry, just tired. Then he started asking questions. What about the story I'd told him about helping one of my struggling students' families? That was a lie. I'd actually used that money for a weekend trip with Jessica. What about the medical bills I'd claimed were from my dental work? Another lie. That money went to a designer bag I'd been eyeing. Each lie I told came unraveled one by one. I did what I always do when I feel cornered. I turned it around on him. Well, maybe if you weren't so controlling with money, I wouldn't have to hide things. I remember shouting. Do you know how embarrassing it is to have to ask permission to buy basic things? How humiliating it is to have your sister comment on every purchase I make? Peter suggested counseling, but I shut that down fast. In my mind, counseling was for people with real problems, not for couples arguing about money. Besides, Jessica had been telling me how her cousin went to marriage counseling, and it just gave her husband more ammunition to control her. Financial abuse, that term kept bouncing around in my head. The more I thought about it, the more I convinced myself that's what this was. I started getting bolder with my spending, almost like I was daring Peter to say something. I'd come home with shopping bags, and place them right in the middle of the living room. When he'd give me that look, you know, the disappointed one, I'd make some comment about how at least one of us knows how to enjoy life. Sorry, I don't want to live like we're broke. His family started noticing the tension at Sunday dinners. I'd make these little jabs about Peter's job or his clothes, always with a laugh so I could play it off as a joke if anyone called me out. Oh honey, you're wearing that shirt again. I guess the postal service must not pay as well as I thought. His mother would purse her lips. His sister would roll her eyes. But Peter would just force that crooked smile, and change the subject. Jessica thought it was hilarious. Girl, you're just being honest, she'd say when I told her about these moments. If you can't handle a little teasing, that's his problem. But sometimes late at night I'd catch Peter looking at our wedding photos with this expression I couldn't quite read. It made my stomach twist. But instead of addressing it, I just scrolled through Instagram liking posts about knowing your worth, and not settling. The crazy thing is through all of this we still said, I love you, every day, still posted cute couple pictures online, still went through the motions of being the perfect couple. But something was building, like pressure in a shaking soda can. I could feel it every time Peter sighed looking at our bank statements. Every time I lied about a purchase. Every time his family gave me those looks at dinner. I just didn't expect it to explode the way it did. It was supposed to be just another Sunday dinner at Peter's parents' house. One of those mandatory family things I usually tried to get out of, but Peter had been extra insistent this time. His sister Sarah was going on and on about her new house, and somehow the conversation turned to us. So when are you two thinking about buying? She asked, all innocent-like. I'd already had 2 glasses of wine at this point, maybe 3, the boxed kind his mom always served, which I usually turned my nose up at, but was drinking anyway because, well, I needed something to get through these dinners. Peter cleared his throat and said, we're actually holding off for a bit, need to get our finances in order first. The way he said it, like he was making some kind of announcement, made my face burn. His mother, bless her heart, tried to help. You know, when Peter's father and I were starting out, we used this envelope system for budgeting. Maybe I could show you. Oh, so now everyone's an expert on our finances. The words came out sharper than I'd meant them to. I reached for the wine again, but Peter's hand shot out grabbing the glass before I could. That's enough, he said firmly. Sit down before you say something you can't take back. Maybe it was the wine, maybe it was the embarrassment, maybe it was just everything finally boiling over, but something in me snapped. I yanked my arm away from him and stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. Or what? You'll do what exactly? I could hear my voice getting louder, but couldn't stop. You know what? I don't even need you. Look at you. I could have had anyone but I settled for you. You're not even that funny, you're just ugly. The room went dead silent. I turned to his mother who was sitting there with her mouth open. Sorry, but someone had to say it. Everyone thinks it. You think I don't see how people look at us? The mailman with his crooked teeth and his sad little dad bod. Peter didn't yell, didn't argue, he just stood up, grabbed his keys and wallet from the counter and said in this voice I'd never heard before, "Find your own ride home." Then he walked out, just like that. The silence after the door closed was deafening. His sister Sarah muttered something that sounded like, "Finally." His mother was crying quietly. His father wouldn't even look at me. I stood there swaying slightly, the weight of what I'd just done starting to sink in, but my stupid pride wouldn't let me take it back. "He'll come back," I announced to no one in particular. "He always comes back." But even as I said it, something in my gut told me this time was different. I'd crossed a line and everyone in that dining room knew it. I ended up calling a rideshare home. The driver kept giving
Now comment update to tag you on part 3.